You don't need to prove anything because the truth is, this world doesn't break you with war, it breaks you by making you fight yourself. It makes you doubt your worth, lets others laugh at you, ignore you, look past your presence like you were never really there. But the most dangerous thing isn't hatred, it's being underestimated. Being seen as harmless, incapable, so one, not worth watching. And if you don't understand that rule, you'll spend your life chasing recognition while others use your invisibility to rise in silence. Machiavelli understood this. He didn't teach people how to shine. He taught them how to weaponize the shadows. He showed them how to make enemies relax, make them laugh, and then turn their backs just in time for you to strike no warning. No threats, just a blow cold as steel, sharpened in the dark. Have you ever been underestimated? Good. Because what isn't noticed is never stopped, and the one they don't see coming is the one who controls the entire game. They don't break you by attacking. They break you by laughing, by smiling as they dismiss you, by pretending you're not even in the room. You've felt it, that quiet, stinging humiliation of being overlooked, not hated, just ignored. You show up, listen, wait your turn. 3, 2, be kind. Try to stay patient, but somehow, the louder, more arrogant voices always seem to win. You've been told your time will come, that people will notice your effort, that those who underestimate you now will respect you later. But they never do they? Instead, they grow bolder in their contempt. They talk over you, smile politely, while mentally crossing your name off the list of people who matter. And all the while, you say nothing because you've been taught that silence is noble, that humility is strength. But here's the truth. When you're silent in a world that worships noise, they don't see wisdom. They see weakness. And when you're humble in a world driven by ego, they don't admire it. They take advantage of it. You're not broken because you're not good enough. You're broken because no one ever taught you how to weaponize the very thing they're ignoring. Think about this. How many times have you felt like the ghost in the room? The one who observes everything but is seen by no one. You smile, and they barely look back. You speak, and your words vanish into thin air. You contribute, but the credit goes elsewhere. And the worst part, you start to believe them. You start to think, maybe I am forgettable. Maybe I don't have what it takes. That is the hidden pain. Not the pain of being hated, but the pain of being invisible. And it doesn't scream, it whispers. It eats away at your confidence slowly, silently, until one day, you're the one underestimating yourself. But what if I told you this pain was not a curse, but a signal? A quiet invitation to become dangerous in a different way. Because in this world, those who are overlooked have one thing no one else has: freedom. Freedom to move unnoticed. Freedom to build without interference. Freedom to grow in silence while others waste time seeking attention. When they think you're weak, they lower their guard. When they think you're irrelevant, they stop watching. And when they stop watching, that's when you strike. But only if you learn to convert that pain into patience, that invisibility into strategy, that silence into a weapon. You don't need to be loud to be lethal. You don't need to be seen to be significant. You don't need to be praised to be powerful. What you need is to stop resenting being underestimated and start using it. So ask yourself, how many years have you wasted trying to be acknowledged when you could have been preparing in the shadows? You already know what it feels like to be left out, to be doubted, to be seen as not enough. But that is exactly where your power begins. Let them think you're harmless. Let them laugh. Let them look away. Because while they do, you're not standing still. You're building. You're planning. You're becoming someone they will not recognize until it's too late. What is the deeper mechanism behind being underestimated? Why do people underestimate you? Not because you've done something wrong, but because of how the human mind is wired. We're not drawn to what's calm. We're drawn to what's loud status, spectacle. Those who claim space with arrogance instead of earning it with substance. From school to work to relationships, society has conditioned people to associate confidence with volume, to mistake performance for power. And so, when someone like you walks in quiet, composed, self-contained, they don't see strength. They see emptiness. But they're not seeing you. They're reacting to their own programming. We live in a world of performance addiction, A world where presence is measured by how often you post, how fast you respond, how loud you speak. In this system, restraint is misread as weakness. Stillness is interpreted as and patience is dismissed as passivity. But Machiavelli warned us. The game of power doesn't reward noise. It rewards control. And control begins where ego ends. Let me ask you this. Have you ever watched a lion stalk its prey? It doesn't roar. It waits. Still. Silent. Every second spent not attacking is a second invested in certainty. Because when the lion moves, there is no chance left for the prey to react. Now apply that to your life. At the office, in the family gathering, in the social circle. You may feel small now, but you have something others lost the moment they started showing off. The element of surprise. When you are underestimated, you are and when you are unmonitored, you can build. You can observe. You can learn. You can adapt without interference. That's not weakness. That's strategic invisibility. And in a world drunk on validation, you are sober. The common mistakes which undermine your value. When we feel underestimated, most of us make the same fatal mistake. We try to prove ourselves. We raise our voices. We over-explain. We try to win them over to show them we're worthy. But here's the bitter truth. The need to prove is the beginning of self-betrayal. You start bending, shrinking, overcompensating. And in doing so, you abandon the very weapon that made you powerful in the first place. Your unpredictability, your silence, your mystery. You become obvious, and what's obvious is no longer feared. Mistake number 1 is explaining too much. When someone doubts you, your first instinct is to clarify, to defend your value. But Machiavelli would say, he who explains too much loses leverage. Every word you utter in desperation is a confession. You're telling them you need their validation. And those who need validation become easy to manipulate. Mistake number 2 is overcompensating with noise. You start showing off, posting more, talking louder, bragging subtly, trying to get their attention. But attention gained this way isn't respect, it's pity. At best, contempt at worst. Mistake number 3 is letting rejection define yourself. When you're constantly overlooked, you start to believe the narrative. You internalize the silence of others as evidence that you are not enough. But that's a trap. One hardens you into someone cold and reactive. The other dissolves you into someone invisible, even to yourself. Mistake number 4 is playing the same game as your enemy. If someone disrespects you, the temptation is to match their energy. But that's playing their game, on their board, with their rules. When you react emotionally, you lose strategic position. So what should you do instead? Withdraw not as an act of weakness, but as an act of power. Observe. Let them underestimate you. Let them build their false confidence. Let them laugh, because the most devastating strike is the one no one sees coming. Machiavelli never told you to be kind. He told you to be feared when necessary and ignored when useful. Because he understood something most people today still refuse to see. Visibility is not the same as power. In fact, in the wrong moment, visibility is vulnerability. He wrote, "The vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances, and the world is made up of the vulgar." Let that sink in. Most people aren't looking for substance. They're hypnotized by noise, by confidence that screams, rather than control that whispers. So Machiavelli devised a philosophy not for the popular, but for the predator. He taught that if you must choose between being loved or feared, choose fear not. Because cruelty is noble, but because dependence on love makes you weak. You don't need to explain yourself anymore. You don't need to be chosen. You don't need to be invited to the table because you are no longer asking. You're no longer knocking. You're no longer waiting to be seen. You are sovereign now. You walk like someone whose presence is not a request, but a recalibration of the room. Every silence is now intentional. Every move calculated. Every word deliberate. You are not here to please. You are not here to prove. You are not here to be predictable, accessible, or understood. You are here to shift gravity. Let them keep talking. Let them keep laughing. Let them build thrones out of applause. Because while they chase validation, you build empires in silence. While they seek attention, you master the art of precision. And when they finally notice you, it will be too late to react. Because you'll no longer be the version of yourself they laughed at. You'll be a different animal, colder, clearer, untouchable. From now on, if they don't value your words, give them your silence. If they don't respect your time, give them your absence. If they underestimate your power, let them, because you're no longer in the business of convincing people. You're in the business of becoming undeniable. And the only thing more terrifying than being feared is being misjudged until the moment it's too late.